We're on the bottom of Kuf Amud Beis, 3 lines from the bottom. So the Gemara begins a new subject here, B'negei to Kiddush. Oisam b'nei Adam shekitshu b'beis hakneses. Those people that make Kiddush and Shul after davening. So the question is, are they Yaitze with their Kiddush there in Shul or not? Amar Rav, so Rav says, Yideyayin lo yotzu. The bracha that they make on the wine, they're not going to be yaitze with this bracha if they want to then come home and by the Suda at home drink more wine. It can't be yaitze with the wine, with the bracha that they made on the wine in the shul, even if they would be drinking there. And the reason is, as we'll see in the hemshech of the whole sugya today, that when you change places from where you were and you come to a new place, the bracha that you made in your first location does not work for a new location. It's a hefsik, it's an interruption, a hesachadas, and therefore that you're not yaitze. But Yidei Kiddush Yatzu, the mitzvah of Kiddush, they are Yaitze. They go home, they can go and eat the Suda, they don't have to make Kiddush again. The Yaitze with the Kiddush in the Shul. And as we'll see, Rav's opinion basically is saying that the Kiddush does not have to be made b'makom Suda, in the same place that you're eating your meal. You make Kiddush in Shul, you go home and you eat your Suda. Shmuel says, Af Yidei Kiddush lo Yatzu. Not only are you not Yaitze, the bracha on the wine, you're also not Yaitze your Kiddush, because you have to make Kiddush in the place where you're eating your Suda. Zok the Gemara, so El al Rav. So according to Rav that says that you're not Yaitze Kiddush, so Lamalei, according to Rav that says that you are Yaitze your Kiddush, Lamalei l'kedusha bebeise. So why would you have to make Kiddush again in your house? You should be able to come home and just make immediately, go wash and eat the Suda. Today, you make Kiddush again at home. If you have people, family in the house, you make Kiddush for them again. Even though you were Yaitze Kiddush, you can make Kiddush again to be Maitzi them. But really, you were Yaitze Kiddush already. Shmuel, now according to Shmuel, the question is, Lama le Kiddushi b'bei Kinishta. So why do we make Kiddush in the Shul if you anyways are not Yaitze? You come home, you have to make Kiddush again, even for yourself. So the Kiddush should be b'makom Suda. So what's the point of having Kiddush made in Shul? La fuke oirchem yidei chayvasam. It's in order to be Maitzi, the guests that are there in the Shul, the achlu, v'shasu, v'ganu b'vei Kinishta, they eat and drink and sleep in the Shul. So for them, that's their Kiddush b'makom Suda. So Chachamim were masakin to make Kiddush in the Shul for those guests that remain in the Shul. So Taisus over here says it doesn't mean that they actually eat and drink and sleep and live in the Shul itself. You're not allowed to. They live and sleep in a side room in the Shul over there, and they listen to the Kiddush from wherever they are there in the Shul. Right, so according to what the Gemara is saying here, it would come out that that's only if there are guests there. Then there's a point to make Kiddush for them. What's if you know for a fact that there are no guests in the Shul that are sleeping in the Shul, like in most Shuls today? There's nobody that's staying there and sleeping there, and they're not eating the Suda there, so should you make Kiddush for them? So some Rishonim say that in the case where you know that there's no guests, your Kiddush is a bracha levatala. Shouldn't make Kiddush for them. But most Rishonim say, and the Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch brings the psak in, that Chachamim will masakin for the purpose of guests that you should make Kiddush in Shul. Even if there are no guests, you still make Kiddush in the Shul. Just like the Alter Rebbe brings the example, the Rishonim say, just like when we get to the bracha that we say after Kabbalah Shabbos, the bracha of Me'ein Sheva, and the end of Ma'ariv, and Friday night. Why do we say that bracha? For the people that come late, in order to be able to stay longer in Shul, they shouldn't have to walk home alone. And it's dark at night, so they were masakin to say this bracha of Me'ein Sheva. So that you always say it in the Shul, even if you know that there's nobody that was delayed, and even though there's no purpose to say it. Well, that was a takana. Same thing over here with this Kiddush. The Kiddush to make in Shul for the guests, even if you know there's no guests, that was a takana to make this Kiddush. And there are still shuls, many shuls today that do it. If you go to the shuls, the Minig Ashkenaz, they make Kiddush right after davening. But the Alter Rebbe there brings that the Minig in many places is not to do it, and in all the Chassidish shuls and most shuls, you don't make Kiddush anymore in shul today. But the thing is that even when you make Kiddush in the shul, so you're not yaitze with that Kiddush, the Suda. Right? So who's going to drink the wine? The Alter Rebbe discusses this in Shulchan Aruch also. Who's going to drink the wine? The person himself that's drinking it, it's not for him, it's not Kiddush b'makom Suda. He's making the Kiddush, but he's not supposed to drink it. So you give it to a child to drink. If you ever were in the shul, you give it to a child to drink. The person himself that makes the Kiddush doesn't drink it.
He's not Yetzer, so maybe he can still drink.
No, you can't drink it because it's not Kiddush b'makom Suda. That's what Alter Rebbe says. You give it to the child. V'az the Shmuel l'taimei. Shmuel follows his opinion that he said, Shmuel ain't Kiddush ela b'makom Suda. The Kiddush has to be made in the place where you're eating your Suda, and therefore you're not Yaitze with the Kiddush in the shul. Savar mina. Now, when they heard that this is the opinion of Shmuel, they thought, the students thought, Hanimili mi bias lebias. When is this true? Only if you're going from one house to another house. Like in the case coming from the shul, coming home. If you're going from one place, from one room to another room. B'chad beisa, within the same house, loy, he didn't say that. Over here, Shmuel would say it's fine to make Kiddush in one room and then go and eat in another room. Amalu Ravana bar Tachlife, so Ravana bar Tachlife said to them, Zimnin Sagian, many times Havakim the Kamei de Shmuel, I was by Shmuel, V'noches me'igrir la'ara, and he came down from the second floor to the ground floor, V'hodem Kaddish. And only then did he make Kiddush. He didn't make Kiddush upstairs and then come down. He made Kiddush downstairs in the room where he was going to eat the Suda. Because even in the same house, from one room to another room, or from upstairs, downstairs, you have to make Kiddush in the same room. Rav Huna as well agrees to this and says, "Ein Kiddush al b'makom Suda. Kiddush must be made in the place where you eat Yesuda." The Rav Huna Kaddish, once it happened, Rav Huna made Kiddush, this akre leishrage, and the candle went out, so he couldn't eat the Suda in that place. It was dark. And so so he brought in all of his dishes, all of his food, lebeganane de Rabbe berei, to the place where there was prepared for Rabbe his son. A ganane means there was a chassan and kala there, and they were they prepared. The ganane is like a chuppah, or like an area where it's designated for the chassan and kala. So he went and brought his kalim to join the Suda there with the chassan and kala. The havashrag, there was a candle there. And the Kaddish, he made Kiddush again, v'toim midi, and then he ate. So Alma, we see Kasavar and Kiddush al b'makom Suda. Kiddush has to be made in the place where the Suda is, and therefore he made Kiddush again. And the Af Rabbe Sava, Rabbe also agrees and says, "Ein Kiddush al b'makom Suda," that the Kiddush has to be made in the place where you eat Yesuda. Amar Abaya said, "Ki avine beimar." When I was by the master, by Rabbe, Ki avin mekadosh. So when we made Kiddush by him, Omar Lani told us, "Ti'imu midi." If you're hearing Kiddush over here by me, eat something. Why? Because Dilma, maybe what will happen is Adaz Spize, until you'll get to the inn where you're staying, Misakre L'Chushrage, the candle will already have been gone out. V'lei Mekadosh L'Chu Bebei Sachile, and you're not going to make Kiddush over there in the place that you eat, and you might not even eat at all actually. Right? They're not going to make Kiddush there. They'll get, when the time they get back home, they're not going to make any Kiddush, and they're not going to eat at all. And they're going to just go to sleep. If you're not going to eat anything here after you heard Kiddush, you're not going to be yaitza with the Kiddush here. In Kiddush al b'makom Suda. You only yaitza Kiddush if it's in the place of a Suda. If it's not in the place of a Suda, there's no. If you're not yaitza the Kiddush at all. From this Gemara, from this last story of Abaya, you see over here that the inyan of En Kiddush b'makom Suda is even if you're not going to eat a Suda at all. Right. In other words, there's a chakira that Achronim speak about regarding the inyan of En Kiddush b'makom Suda. What's the reason why the Kiddush is required to be b'makom Suda? Is it a din in the Suda that in order for the Suda to be a chashav Suda, not just a regular weekday Suda, so you have to have Kiddush to open up and to begin the Suda, to be Mekadosh for the purpose of the Suda, or is it the other way around? It's for the Kiddush. In order for the Kiddush to be considered to be significant and related to Yesuda, in order the Kiddush should be the way it's supposed to be, it has to be b'makom Suda. So what would be the nafka minute? What's if you're not planning on eating a Suda at all? You can't eat it. For whatever reason, you can't eat a Suda tonight. So is there an inyan for the Kiddush to be b'makom Suda? If the idea is that the Kiddush has to be the b'makom Suda, is for the purpose of the Suda, so if you're not eating a Suda, so then in such a case, the Kiddush, you make Kiddush without a Suda. You can't eat. You're not planning on eating any Suda tonight. So in such a case, the Kiddush doesn't have to be b'makom Suda. But if you're going to say that, no, the purpose of the Suda is for the Kiddush, whether you're planning on eating a Suda or not, without the Suda, the Kiddush is not b'shleimus. You're not yaitze the Kiddush. So then, you have to be tayyim something for the purpose of the Kiddush. So he was telling them, Rabbi was telling Abaya and the others that were there, that even though you're going to go home and the candle's out and you're going to want to go straight to sleep, you're not even planning on eating a Suda at all. But you're not yaitze the Kiddush, even if you're not planning on eating. The point of Kiddush being b'makom Suda is for the purpose of the Kiddush. So you have to eat over here in order to be able to be yaitze your Kiddush. So now the Gemara asks on this, but for Omar Abaya asked the question, Kol mili demar have a ovid kirav. We know that the Rabbe, whatever he did, he always followed the opinion of Rav. Levar mahani tlas. Besides three things that he followed Shmuel. What are David Kishmuel? One of them is, we had this in the Gemara in Shabbos, matirim mi beged lebeged. One is to remove tzitzis from one beged and to put it onto another beged. So Shmuel held that you're allowed to do this, Rav held you're not, and so he passed like Shmuel. Madlikin mi ner lener. You could light one of the ner Chanukah from another ner Chanukah. And so Rav also held you're not allowed to do that. It's like a bezoyan. You're using one ner for another ner. So Shmuel holds it's not a problem. And the third thing was va'alocha Rab Shimon begreira, and we paskin like Rab Shimon. Shmuel said that we paskin like Rab Shimon when it comes to the halacha of greira. What's the halacha of greira? The Tanya we learned in Abraisa Rab Shimon noime. Rab Shimon said regarding Shabbos, Geirir Adam Mite Kisa V'Safsel. A person is allowed to drag a bed, a chair, a bench, b'Shabbos, or b'vad, shelo yiskaven, lasis charitz. As long as when you're dragging it on the ground, even though it creates a ditch in the ground or whatever, a thorough in the ground, as long as you don't have that kavana, it's einem miskaven. This is the famous shitta of Rab Shimon that you do a malach on Shabbos, and that's not your intention at all, so that's allowed. So Shmuel said that we paskin like Rab Shimon. So Rabbe, only regarding these three things did he follow Shmuel's opinion. Otherwise, he always followed Rav. So how can we say that over here, Rabbe holds that Kiddush has to be b'mokim suda, Rav holds that Kiddush does not have to be b'mokim suda? So the Gemara answers, this that we said that he always followed Rav against Shmuel, that means that he always followed the stringencies of Rav. Those places that Rav was machmir more than Shmuel, he always followed Rav, besides these three examples that are all leniencies, that he paskened l'kula like Shmuel. But that doesn't mean that he always went according to the kulas of Rav in all the places against Shmuel. So over here Rav was mekel, so Rabbi did not follow the kula of Rav. Now the Gemara brings a third opinion regarding this subject, making Kiddush and Shul. Rabbi Yochanan says, Af yidei yayin nami yotzu. You make Kiddush and Shul, not only are you going to be Yotze Kiddush, like Rav's opinion, you're actually Yotze the bracha of Bari Pri Hagafen, you come home, and you don't have to make another bracha on the wine anymore. Just like regarding the wine, the bracha that you make on the wine before by Kiddush, before your Suda. So you yaitze for the rest of the Suda because you're having in mind to drink more wine later. So you don't have to make another bracha on the wine later. So the bracha you made on wine in Shul, you'll be yaitze to drink wine in your house. Rabbi Yochanan follows his opinion. Whether you got new, better wine in the middle of your meal, you don't have to make a new bracha on that. You made bracha on wine you had before, even though you got new wine, there's no new bracha. The Rashbam says that when you get new wine, you don't make a new bracha of Bari Pri Hagafen, but there is another bracha that you make on new wine, hatoiva meitiv, right? So that you make on new wine. Some people still do it today. If you really enjoy wine and you get a new bottle of wine in the middle of the Suda, you make a new bracha. About toiva meitiv, better wine, yeah. No difference of kavanah. If you get better wine in the middle of the meal, you make a bracha toiva meitiv. But the bracha of Bari Pri Hagafen, you don't have to make a new bracha. Ve'echad shini makayim, and the same is also true if you changed locations. You started drinking wine in one place, you went to another place, ein sarach levarach. You don't have to make a new bracha. So this is Rabbi Yochanan's opinion. But Meisve, and this the question was asked, it says clearly in Abraisa, shini makayim sarach levarach. If you changed locations, you do have to make a new bracha Bari Pri Hagafen. Shinu yayin ein sarach levarach. New, better wine in the middle of a meal, you don't have to make a bracha. To Yufta the Rabbi Yochanan. So this refutes what Rabbi Yochanan said to Yufta. This refutes his opinion. It's a clear brayso that you do have to make a new bracha. Yosef, Rav Idi, Bar Oven, Kamed, Rav Chiste, and he was sitting in front of Rav Chiste. And the Yosef, Rav Chiste, V'Ka'ama, and Rav Chiste was sitting and he was saying the following halacha, Mishmei de Rav Huna, in the name of Rav Huna. Ha de Amrit. This that you said, Shini Mokim Tzarech Levarech, that if you change locations, you have to make a new bracha, Lishanu Ela Mibayis Lebayis. That's only if you're changing locations from one house to another house. Avol. Mimakim Lemokim, but if you're changing locations from one place to another place in the same house, from one room to another, or the top floor, the bottom floor, then loy, you don't have to make a new bracha. That's not called Shini Mokim regarding this inyan over here to make a new bracha. Before we said regarding Kiddush b'Mokim Suda, it is considered to be Shini Mokim, but regarding making a new bracha, it's not called Shini Mokim. So that's outside. I believe you do have to make a new bracha. Yeah, there's a discussion about that. For example, If you're going from a sukkah to the house and things like that, I think that is called a new bracha. It is a new place. Amalei Ravidi Baravin said, Hachi tanina le b'masnita, the Bei Rav Hinik. This is what we learned in a Braise by the Besmedrish of Rav Hinik. V'amri, his name was a bit different, b'masnita, the Bei Bar Hinik. Kavasach. We learned exactly like you said, like Rav Chisda said. So if the Gemara asks, Ve'ela Rav Huna masnita kamashmalon. So Rav Chisda was saying this in the name of Rav Huna. So Rav Huna was teaching me something that was already taught clearly in a Braisa. So the answer is masnita leishmiele. He didn't hear this Braisa. So there were many Braisas that the Amiroim did not know about. They were not famous amongst all the Amiroim. And so therefore, it's possible that Rav Huna did not know this Braisa. V'su Yosef Rav Chisda was sitting again, and now Rav Chisda was saying a halacha on his own regarding this subject of a shini mokim, and he said as follows: Ha the Amrit. This that you said, that shini mokim tzarech levarach, that when you change locations, you made a bracha on the food, and you come to a new location, so you have to make a new bracha. Lo yamaran, this was not said, ela b'dvarim she'ein tu'unin bracha lachreim. Only regarding foods that do not have to have a bracha made for them in the place where you ate them. So what are we referring to here? So Rashi, the Rashbam both say, if a person's drinking water or he's eating fruits, where the bracha achreina is a beir nefashis, they don't get their own unique bracha achreina. It's the general bracha of beir nefashis. So Rashi says it doesn't have a bracha chashuva b'fnei atzma. It doesn't have its own chashuva bracha. It's the general beir nefashis that you make. And even when you go to another place, you don't have to make the bracha where you ate. You go to another place and you make the bracha achreina there. So once you got up from the place where you are and you went to a new location, so we consider it to be a completion of your eating here. And you don't have a mind to come back, you don't have a mind to continue eating, and if you continue eating in another place, you have to make a new bracha. Aval dvarim atu'unin bracha la'achreim b'mekayman. But those foods that you have to make a bracha achreina in the place where you're eating over there, so Rashbam say this refers to Shivas Aminim, all the Shivas Aminim, which you make a bracha me'ein shalish, whether ala michya, ala gefen, or ala eitz, and you have to make a bracha before you leave the place where you're eating. You have to make a bracha there, and they have a chashuv bracha on their own. Ein tzarech levarech. So then, when you left the place and you're coming to eat in a new place, you're not going to have to make a new bracha. Why not? My time lekiva kama hodar, because your mind is connected to the first place where you established yourself and began eating. When you're continuing to eat over here, you're still connected to the food that you ate before, and you're continuing and you're going to make a bracha achreina on both the food that you ate before and the food that you can eat over here now. So therefore, in such a case, because the person is continuing his food that he ate from before, you don't have to make a new bracha achreina. So there's two pshatim here in this Gemara. When the Gemara says lekiva kama hodar, according to Rashi's pshat, what this means is when you are in the first location, you're supposed to make a bracha achreina there before you leave. It's a davar chashuv, and you finish eating over here, you have to make the bracha achreina there. If you leave and come to a new place, you should really go back and make the bracha achreina where you were before. But if you're not going back and you continue eating here, when you do continue eating here, you still want to eat and you continue eating in a new place, so you can continue eating, and now you can make a bracha achreina for what you ate here and what you ate before, and it's a hemshech, it's a continuation. What happened? Okay. That's Rashi and the Rashbam's pshat. Okay. So, lekiva kama hodar means that in the person's mind, what he eats here is related to what he was eating before. So therefore, you don't make a new bracha where you are now in the new location. Other Rishonim, however, say that when it says in the Gemara, lekiva kama hodar, it means you actually have to go back. If you ate over here and you go to a new place and you want to eat in a new place, you can't eat over here. You have to go back to where you were to make the bracha achreina there. So you have to actually go back there and make your bracha over there. So since you're going back to your first location where you ate, you don't have to make a new bracha. Okay, so those are the two pshatim in these words, the kiva kama hodar.
What about if you have the kavanah that you're going to bench over there, or you're going to...
Okay, again?
If you have the kavanah that when you eat in the first
over
place,
here,
that you're going to go over there and
you're going to bench over there. You're going to bench in the new location. Okay, so that's a different story. Yeah, no, that's not the case we're talking about. Over there, you don't have to make a new bracha, yeah. If you had it in mind, the chatchila, yeah. Rav Sheshes. So this we're talking over about when do you have to make a new bracha? You have to make a new bracha for the Shiva Samina, which includes Ala Michi, Ala Eitz, Al Pregaf, and then for sure for benching, you have to make a new bracha if you went to a new location. Taisvis actually argues with the Rashi and the Rashbam in this detail as well, because according to what it says over here, it would come out that Rav Chisda argues with Shmuel, with Rav and Shmuel before. Both Rav and Shmuel said, you made the bracha on the wine in Shul, you come home, you have to make a new bracha on the wine. According to what Rav Chisda is saying, so when it comes to wine, so what's Rav Chisda saying? When it comes to wine, so then, because it's dvarim that atunu bracha lachreim b'mekayman, so you have to make a new bracha in the new place that you are, right? So that it fits l'chere with what it said before, with what they both said. But Taisus argues in this. Second.
Would be a difference. Would there be a difference if you just want to drink a cup of wine, so you would just make and then you would be able to go?
Right.
Versus if you want to do kiddush, where it would be malkum.
Could be. There's a difference between that. Okay. Taisus argues in the Rashbam. I don't remember now the exact point. What?
About a filter?
Yeah. Taisus. Yeah. On the first Indian. Okay. We'll have to finish the Gemara. I'll see afterwards what it says in Taisus. Okay. Rav Sheshes argues on this. Rav Sheshes Omar. Rav Sheshes says, "Echad zeh ve'echad zeh tzarich levarich." Makes no difference what kind of food it is, whether it's even just drinking water or fruits, and for sure if you're washing for bread or eating something which is a me'ein shalish, you come to a new location, you have to make a new bracha. It makes no difference. So the Gemara now has a question of Chisda's opinion. Meisvei, the question is, it says in the Braisa as follows: B'nei chabura shehoyi mesubin lishtais. There was a group that were sitting together to drink, and then va'akru ragleim. They uprooted their feet from where they are. Why? Lotzeis lekras chasen, lekras kala. They were getting up to go to greet a chasen and or a kala. Keshen yaitzen, when they leave the place that they're in, ain't tunen bracha lemafreya. They do not have to make a bracha achreina, because they're going to come back. And keshen chayzrin, and when they come back to the place that they are, ain't tunen bracha lechatchila. They don't have to make a new bracha on the meal that they were eating. The Bryce explains when this is. When do we say that they're leaving? They could leave without a bracha achrayna and not make a new bracha. They left someone there. Part of the group stayed behind in the place that they were eating. Someone that couldn't join them. If they didn't leave a person, an older person, a sick person there, they all left. They all removed themselves from this meal. When they leave, they have to make a bracha achrayna, and when they come back, they need to make a new bracha before they begin eating. So what do we see from this? So the first thing is the Gemara is medayik the words akru ragleyan. They uprooted from the place where they were eating a meal. They went to greet the chassan and kala. Meklal, so from this expression, akru ragleyan, it seems, we're talking about them eating a meal, and they would have to make a bracha achrayna there in that place. They weren't just sitting and eating a snack. In the middle of eating a snack, there was a chassan and kala, they went. They wouldn't use the term akru raglein. Akru raglein means they were established, they were sitting, they were eating a meal, and then they had to rush to go and greet the chassan and kala, and they had to interrupt their meal they were eating. So we're talking about such kind of things that they would have to make a bracha achrayna in the place that they are, a chashav bracha. And what does it say here? Why do they have to make a new bracha? If there's a person of the group that they left there, so then the halach is so then they don't make a bracha achrayna when they leave. And when they come back, they don't have to make another bracha. But if they didn't leave anybody there, when they leave, and so if they didn't leave anybody there, when they come back, they have to make a new bracha. Okay, so what do you see from this? That if there's a chashava, if it's something which is a chashava bracha, so then in such a case, when you come back, then you have to make a new bracha. So this is a question on Rav Chisda. What did Rav Chisda say? When you come to a new location, So then, because it's a hemshech to the meal that you had before, it's a chashav bracha, and your mind, l'kiva kama hader, your mind is still in the first eating that you were eating, so you don't have to make a new bracha. Okay? So now the question over here, as Rashi, the Rashbam explained, it's a kal v'chaimer. Rav Chisda was saying, even when you come back to the same location that you were eating, right? You come back to the Kashen Chayzer, you come back to the same location where you were eating before. You still have to make a new bracha. Rav Chisda says you come to a new location. You don't have to make a new bracha, even though you're coming into a new location. So this is a question on Rav Chisda with a kal v'chaimer. So kashi Rav Chisda. So this is a question of Rav Chisda's pshat, and Rav Chisda's opinion. Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak. Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak says that braisa that we just quoted is not a question because man tana akirais. Who's the tana of that braisa? Rabbi Yehuda. It's Rabbi Yehuda's opinion. We don't hold like Rabbi Yehuda. The Tanya, because we learned in the braisa, chaverim shoyim mesubim va'akru ragleim. The people, chaverim, were sitting together in a suda, and then they got up in the middle. Leilach lebeis hakneses lebeis hamedrash. They went to daven in the middle of the suda. So again, the same thing. Kishen yaitzin ein tunim bracha lemafreya. When they leave, they don't have to make a bracha achreina. Kishen chayzerin. When they return, ein tunim bracha lechatchila. They don't have to make a new bracha in the beginning. That's the Tanakama. Rabbi Yehuda, on this, Rabbi Yehuda argues and says, when is this true that you don't have to make a new bracha? If they left someone there. If they didn't leave anyone there, when they leave, they should make a bracha. Then they have to make a new bracha. So Rabbi Yehuda is arguing with the Tanakama. Rabbi Yehuda, when he says, he's arguing with Tanakama. He's the one that holds only if you left someone there, then you don't make a new bracha. But if you didn't leave someone there, you would have to make a new bracha. But Rav Chisda is following the opinion of the Tanakama that even if you didn't leave anybody there, you don't have to make a new bracha. And even if you come to a new location, you also don't have to make a new bracha. So let me just conclude again, going back to what I was going to say before. The Taisvis says that it would come out that Rav Chisda is arguing on Rav and Shmuel. Because Rav Chisda is saying that if you drank wine in one place and you came to a new place, because it's something which is part of the Shivas Aminim and it has a chashav bracha, you don't have to make a new bracha in the new location. And Rav and Shmuel both said regarding Kiddush, that if you make Kiddush in the shul, and then you come home, you do have to make a new bracha. Yidei yayin lo. So Taisa says it doesn't make sense to say that Rav Chisda is coming to argue on Rav and Shmuel. And therefore Taisa disagrees with Rashi and the Rashbam and says what's considered to be a chashav bracha, that if you come to a new location you don't have to make a new bracha. That's only if you're eating bread, pas, where you're washing, where there's a full benching. But if you're eating things that the bracha is bayr nefashis, or things that the bracha achrein is ala michya, ala eitz, and ala gef, and the main shalish, that's part of those things that you don't have to make a new bracha in the new place that you do have to make a new bracha in the new place that you come to. That's the machlokes here between Rashi and Tosfos. Okay.